Top 25 Family Guy characters.
If you are brand new to our channel, we invite you to take a moment to subscribe. Just click on the lit red button as well as the gray bell. Why the bell? Well, it will let you know every time we post a new video.
19.
Number 19, Mort Goldman. No recurring character on the show is more offensively and stereotypically rendered than Mort Goldman. Mort is a textbook example of every little stereotype that pop culture has played up regarding Jewish people and rolled into one package. He's eternally convinced he's suffering from some terminal disease. Every random sneeze or off-kilter bowel movement is cause for alarm. His wife Muriel is very much the same. They're like two peas in a pod, those Goldmans. It's no wonder young Neil is growing up to be the spitting image of his father. Mort runs Goldman's pharmacy in town. He's quite successful in business, which just piles one more stereotype upon the pile. This is despite Peter's best, albeit inadvertent, efforts to derail the whole enterprise. Whether it's Peter's astronomical billing tab, or his tendency to toss dead horse through the window, it's a wonder Mort hasn't simply packed up and moved to a less crazy town. Mort has an almost pathological fear of Nazis, which is probably just symptomatic of his larger fear of anything threatening. Peter's ragtag scared Jew, a straw dummy vaguely resembling Hitler, was enough to send Mort running into the street and screaming for his brethren to save John Stewart, their most important Jew. Despite it all, Mort has a tendency to rise to the occasion when called upon. It was as much Mort's doing as Peter's that the renowned Black Knight was defeated at the local Renaissance fair. Mort comes up lacking in just about every physical characteristic imaginable, but he makes do with what he has. We can forgive him his numerous eccentricities.
18.
Number 18, Carter Pewterschmidt. Quahog is home to one of the richest of the rich, the Pewterschmidts. This family has its fingers in all sorts of major industries, from paper to electronics. Patriarch Carter Pewterschmidt controls his empire with an iron hand and gravelly voice. He loves his money, and everything else is clearly secondary. His marriage to wife Barbara is merely one of convenience, as the two seem to share no real love for one another. He dotes on daughter Lois, but he also has various creative ways of tuning her out whenever she disapproves of his actions. Yes, Carter is a giant among men who only have time for fellow rich folk. His small circle of friends includes former Microsoft CEO Bill Gates and Disney head honcho Michael Eisner. Occasionally Ted Turner will drop by for the weekly poker game, but Carter would just as soon avoid his fellow mustache aficionado. Carter's one real hobby, besides lording his wealth over the common folk, is torturing his son-in-law, Peter. He loathes Peter with every fiber of his being. Like most cartoon rich men, Carter can't accept that his daughter would deign to marry a low-class schmuck. Carter constantly exacts his revenge by reminding Peter of the wealth he'll never have. When Peter comes calling for money or aid, Carter always has a ridiculous hoop ready for Peter to jump through. He even keeps spare dollar bills at the bottom of a jar full of salt and barbed wire. Carter is one of the few Family Guy characters to carry enough perpetual malice to qualify as a villain. If he's not tormenting Peter, he's simply not himself. And though many of our Carter-related laughs come at Peter's expense, we can't say we mind. The only real difference between Carter Pewterschmidt and the rest of America's elite and wealthy is that he can usually make us laugh when he does terrible things. Slap.
17.
Number 17, James Woods. If you've ever been to Rhode Island, you know that the state is about the size of your average YMCA swimming pool. Such a small place isn't able to generate much in the way of celebrity. The residents of Quahog tend to focus on whatever famous faces they can find, and one of their favorite sons is none other than famous actor James Woods. Chris and Meg's high school is named after Mr. Woods, and a heavily forested area on the outskirts of town is even lovingly dubbed James Woods. It's a lot of honor for one man, but as we said, Quahog takes its celebrities where and when it can. Woods has appeared on the show several times before, voiced by the real-life actor himself. When Brian and his new girlfriend campaigned to change the name of James Woods High, Woods himself showed up to support their cause. He then stuck around to become best buds with Peter, which led to predictably hilarious consequences. The Family Guy version of James Woods is quite nearly as dumb as Peter himself, which is no small feat. However, he's also completely self-absorbed, subjecting others to tapes of his old movies, in order to observe the subtle nuances of his performance. Have you ever noticed how, despite the other actors in the frame, your eye is always drawn back to James Woods? Luckily, he was there to provide such snippets of wisdom. Woods' mental deficiencies are also his undoing. Both times he appeared in a starring role, he was defeated in the exact same way. Woods is vulnerable to a well-placed trail of candy. He simply can't resist free candy, even if it leads him to be trapped in a box and shipped off to a secret government facility to be examined by top men. It hardly matters, because we all know Woods will be back again. Quahog needs him as much as he needs his fans.
16.
Number 16, Herbert and Jesse. Family Guy's approach to introducing supporting characters is simple. The producers simply throw them out there and see which ones continue to resonate with fans. Some succeed, and some die painful, public deaths. We're looking at you, vaudeville duo. One addition that stuck out immediately was the elderly Herbert and his equally aged dog Jesse. Herbert lives just down the street from the Griffin family. He's part of Chris's paper route, which is also, incidentally, where we first met him. Herbert's unique qualities are immediately apparent. His voice is incredibly high-pitched and slightly creepy. He's also a blatant pedophile. The rest of the neighborhood seems completely oblivious to this second fact. Herbert fancies Chris as the muscly armed paperboy. He eagerly awaits the arrival of the paper every morning, always trying in vain to tempt Chris inside with promises of popsicles and other treats. And then there's Jesse, a dog who would probably be considered old even in people years. The decrepit Jesse has only 2 functioning legs, and is forced to drag himself everywhere. Herbert and Jesse are known to converse with each other in some secret systems of grunts and moans only they understand. And yes, while the two are popular, they are also one note. We get it, old man likes boys in dirty, bleach bath-worthy ways. The bit was funny the first 2 times we heard it. The show can't seem to get enough of this broken record. But we did, hence why they come in at slot 16.
15.
Number 15, Ollie Williams. It is said that the best comedic side characters are the ones that are used sparingly. Much like Ralph Wiggum from The Simpsons, Ollie Williams is one of those characters that only appears a few times a season, and has us rolling on the floor laughing every time. A man of few words, Ollie is Quahog's #1 weatherman, and a parody of racial tokenism on TV news, much like fellow newscaster Tricia Takanawa. Although he only screams out his news in quick soundbite style, Ollie continues to be employed by Channel 5 News to provide the black weather forecast. These forecasts usually aren't more than 4 words, giving Ollie Williams less than a second of time to tickle our funny bones. Still, some lines are so funny that they can steal the show, our favorites being space weather and I'm at the wrong airport.
Yeah.